Good evening, everyone. I am Sanchit Behal from Section C and roll number 2301236. And my topic for today is poverty in India. So, poverty remains one of the most pressing challenges that India faces, and despite significant economic growth over the past few decades, we still haven't been able to curb this issue. From the lens of economics, understanding poverty in India requires an examination of its historical roots, present status, and future prospects. And today I'll be delving into the economic dimensions of poverty in India, tracing its trajectory from independence to present day and exploring new pathways for its elevation. So, at the time of India's independence in 1947, the country was grappling with widespread poverty, illiteracy, and underdevelopment. The colonial legacy had left deep scars on the economy, characterized by a primarily agrarian structure, low productivity, and limited industrialization. The newly formed government under Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru adopted a mixed economy model, combining elements of socialism and capitalism with an emphasis on state-led development. Various initiatives and policies were introduced in order to address poverty, and the first 5-year plan focused on agriculture, industry, and infrastructure development. Land reforms were initiated to redistribute land to the landless peasants, aiming to reduce rural poverty and inequality. The Green Revolution in the 1960s also brought certain improvements in agricultural productivity, reducing poverty in certain regions. Despite these efforts, poverty remained deeply entrenched, particularly in rural areas. Rapid population growth outpaced the economic development, and the challenge of poverty still remained. Moreover, structural issues such as unequal land distribution, caste-based discrimination, and inadequate access to education and healthcare hindered progress. The economic reforms of the 1990s aimed at liberalizing the economy and integrated India into the global market were there, but their benefits were unevenly distributed, leading to a widening gap between the rich and the poor in our country. So, as India transitioned into the 21st century, significant strides were made in terms of economic growth and poverty reduction. The country emerged as one of the fastest growing major economies globally, with GDP averaging around 7% growth per annum. However, this growth was not equitably shared, and millions continued to languish in poverty. There are various indicators which are used to measure poverty in India that include income levels, consumption patterns, and access to basic amenities. The poverty line, defined by the Planning Commission, is based on calorie intake and is adjusted for inflation. However, even this measure, it is believed that it underestimates the true extent of poverty in India and doesn't account for non-food expenses and regional variations in living costs. Certain populations are more vulnerable to poverty, including women, children, marginalized communities such as scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and OBCs. There are gender disparities in education and employment, and these exacerbate women's poverty. And children from impoverished backgrounds face barriers to access healthcare and education, which perpetuates their intergenerational poverty. COVID-19 pandemic also exacerbated these vulnerabilities and pushed millions into poverty. Lockdown measures to curb the spread of the virus disrupted livelihoods, particularly in the informal sector, where a large proportion of the population is employed. The loss of income, coupled with limited access to protection schemes, pushed many households into poverty and worsened food security in our country. So there are several future challenges that and opportunities that are there to combat poverty. Addressing poverty in India requires a multifaceted approach that tackles structural inequalities, fosters inclusive growth, and promotes human development. Sustained economic growth remains central to poverty reduction efforts. However, the focus must be on inclusive growth, not on exclusive ones, and it should benefit all segments of the society. Policies should prioritize sectors with high employment potential, such as agriculture, manufacturing, and services, and also ensure decent wages and social protection for workers. Human development and social protection should also be there, and there should be investment in human capital, including education, healthcare, and skill development, as they help in breaking the cycle of poverty. Robust social protection schemes, including cash transfer, food transfer subsidies, and healthcare benefits, can also provide a safety net for the poor and vulnerable. Other than that, rural development and more agricultural reforms, empowerment and social inclusion, and environmental sustainability are also some measures that could be taken and could be seen as opportunities for curbing of poverty in our country. Poverty is a problem that still exists in the country, but if we take certain measures and there is support from government, we can help curb this issue. Thank you.